Hi, before I get into my style of tutorials for my process to learn how to draw and animate everything, here's a look at the art books I've collected, starting with me bookshelf. I have a lot of books. And I'm starting the process with animals first. So let's start with the books that are focused on creatures. Mythical Beast, an artist's guide to designing fantasy creatures by 3D Total. It compiles the work of 30 artists with a nice page guide of not only the content, but their intent and layout. They even map the origins of each mythological feature. And through these flip-throughs, you'll see that I really like the process of looking behind another artist's development for concepts and ideas and seeing the way in which they sketch and color. And in this particular book, I like the field notes saying what aspects of the animals are the main inspiration points for the creature design. Next is Dragopedia, a similar guide to mythological creatures by William O'Connor, akin in concept to the last, but this one features different artistic depiction with some different creatures, and a breakdown of the materials and coloring process they use. And this one is the Monster Hunter Illustrations, book 1 of 3. Eventually, I'll have all the Monster Hunter art books and more, cause I love the creature design, and I have a problem. This one includes a lot of early discarded concepts and stuff I find intriguing, alongside beautiful artwork. It really goes to show how much work goes into making a game, such as Monster Hunter. And the next few books are coloring books, because you can learn a lot from coloring books. Plus, I suck at color, so having some practice will help me, pick it up, and also take on the ways in which others sketch. Pop manga, dragons, and other fantasy creatures. Pop manga refers to a particular type of cute style, with big eyes and button noses. Very similar to the moe style. There are many styles in which to draw, and many manga originated styles. I avidly search out coloring books and flip through them because I want to make manga-like comics. And I love seeing the way in which the artist with the coloring book fills empty spaces, observing the way they shade and organize. They also kind of help with understanding the basics, especially line quality. The other coloring books I have are from Kirby Rosanes, as I adore their use of space and hatching.
Quite well.
And lastly, for my art books about animals, we have a plethora of natural history from the Natural History book from the Smithsonian. This has high quality photography of just about every plant and animal you know and didn't know, and then some. With many detailed images, layouts, descriptions, you can learn all about your favorite things in nature and have pictures to draw from every type of rock, tree, frog, flower, fungus, etc. And as a writer and world builder such as I, it helps with the explanations to help you craft your own fur, fingers, and furrows. And now, for the two books that started it all. The first art books I got. How to Draw Everything, which ended up being not helpful in drawing everything, leaving me disappointed and starting me on my path of collecting art books. To build my own style, off the backs of what I like and what/who have inspired me. And I also would like to be able to draw everything to a degree that satisfies my own liking. A lot of my earlier practices are on Webtoon and in my sketchbook, and they are not to my liking. Is a battle of progression between you and you. And I'm still learning. But I've learned that this 30-minute drawing for beginners is a book that I am beyond. But as you'll see from my first practices on my Webtoon, that I use this book pretty heavily to start out. Because you always gotta start somewhere. And if you can't draw for like 5 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, you gotta start building that habit of self-discipline. And so I've also started gathering anatomy books and books from grandmaster artists and artists that are so much better than myself, like the Morpho series, the ones for drawing clothes and simplifying anatomy, because there's a lot of these books, but I don't think I needed to get all of them, just the ones I think I'll learn from the most. I even got the George Birchman books of constructive anatomy, heads, and features and faces. And I wasn't satisfied enough with that, so I got even more advanced books. From an even more better realist artist in my opinion, the great Andrew Loomis. Books of drawing heads and hands and everything you need to know about figure drawing, which has helped to greatly improve my speed and precision with my atomical accuracy. And from all the research I've deducted, it seems that it is best to start with realism and then to experiment with different art styles from there, before trying to emulate or create one. And also from several sources, but one of my favorite being that even a monkey can draw manga. I got this book purely off a title and cover alone. It's a bit more wordy than I expected, lessons from the great masters, but that's okay, because I am a writer, and I like the way they describe, but do wish that there was more visual demonstration. All in all, not a bad book. I've got a pretty expansive imagination, so I was interested in the collection book called Sketching from Imagination. There are many types based off of, the genres featuring various artists, so I find it to be another book I can learn from. I bought some more specific artist books from artists whose works I've seen before, especially revolving around design and coloring, because I've always sucked at light and color. Which brings us to Mr. James Gurney, the creator of Dinotopia, a beautiful series of illustration books that I discovered only after watching the show, sadly enough. And I don't have any of the actual Dinotopia books, but I will eventually. He's made excellent series of books full of details. And this one in particular I haven't yet finished, as it's a bit too advanced for my skill level right now. But another S-tier creation book of James Gurney's art education is Imaginative Realism, which I strive to create because his books are full of complex paintings and demonstrations, and I haven't gone through them all. James Gurney is a great inspiration and one of my favorite artists, and with all these books I have, I reckon it may take me a while to get through them all. Subscribe to join the journey. And this book is about Masters and Legends of Fantasy Art, another collection book full of various artists with techniques in paintings and digital art, from legends in art community including James Gurney to Frank Frazetta, Boris Vallejo, Brothers Hindenburg, and many, many more, taking a look inside the development and creation process and techniques used to draft such high-tier artwork. There's quite a few collection books around that you can get, so I only got a few more, because they not only showcase beautiful tutorials, but also the people behind them, and the people that inspired those people, as well as the people that published their works. So the next collection book I got is a bit more specified to designing creatures and characters on how to build an artistic portfolio for video games, film, animation, and more. Because that's, exactly what I want to do. I want to make films, I want to make animations, eventually video games, and turn those concepts and more. Although I'm starting with comics and books and, YouTube videos. But it helps keep me focused and motivated to see Masters and Legends and heed their advice. The books that are up next are even more focused on my specific end goals, with the goated How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which goes into the old school style of drawing comics before the wave of digital software watched over. And it is great for learning inking and paneling. And it goes into the basics and styles that made the Bronze Age of American comic books great. And here's another comic book tutorial, but with thick lines and more poses, drawing cutting edge anatomy, by Christopher Hart. And how the last book was good for learning inking, this one helps more with the coloring process. The Complete Guide to Drawing Action Manga by artist Shoko and Makoto Sawa. I had a few more how to draw manga books in physical print, but I gave them to friends who had more use to them than myself. And this one is more up my alley with various action poses and angles and scenarios you will find yourself typing up in a shonen type story. And this big old book is one I'm going through currently, the Richard Williams Animator Survival Kit, showcasing many animation practices, principles, and detailing things of traditional 2D animation, back when light tables, paper flipping was widely more used. And it really shows you how much work went into making everything. For example, how many drawings do you think it takes to make this guy go from here to here to here? This many? And this many? No, it is this many. And that's a lot. And that's probably only like 5 seconds. Now you see, the best animation is no easy and is quite tedious, which is why launching daily animations will be pushed back to July 1st. Perspective Made Easy by Ernest Nealing is a book I impulsively got because it was kind of cheap, and while drawing my first action panels for Days in the Void, I struggled. I struggled so much. I struggled with perspective, backgrounds, and landscapes more than anything else. But this one, I wish was less wordy, more demonstrative, more drawly than what I got, similar to the lessons from the great masters. So I picked up some more specific books focused on architecture and because it's still the main thing that I struggle with the most besides color. And I've only skimmed through it at the moment. I don't regret getting it so far. I have another book that my friend gave me about architecture to help out as well. That's Google Maps. Okay, these last books that I have are on the motivational side, starting with the Pixar color scripts. A history of illustrations made in the development of the stories we see on screen and film. These drawings were made to convey the mood and environment during specific scenes, and they are from every Pixar film up to Soul. I hope to build a collection of books like this, and from my favorite series of books, the Art of series. For every big motion picture, every major video game, maybe even a show, there will be the Art of book. They're great at learning behind the scene things and the sheer amount of time and understanding the sheer amount of time and effort it takes to put something together, usually made by the creators of the project. The Art of Diablo, a game I've never played, but love the story and art direction of. Blizzard is fantastic at getting me invested in things I couldn't and still can't afford, especially through their cinematic cutscenes and trailers. But at least I got to get this book full of the development process and gorgeous gothic graphics. The first of the art books that I got. But my favorite of the art of books that I have goes to my favorite Nickelodeon show, especially in the action-adventure genre. Avatar: The Last Airbender encapsulates the research and development throughout the entire series run. Written by the two creators, you can see the journey behind forming the idea, filled to the brim with illustration, storyboard, and even animation cells. And this is why I'm going to build a collection of the art of. Not only are they inspirational, motivational, but they're informative. And one major inspiration of mine is Hayao Miyazaki. This richly illustrated journey through the extraordinary cinematic world of Academy Award-winning filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki introduces hundreds of original production materials, including artworks never before seen outside of Studio Ghibli's archives. Concept sketches, character designs, storyboards, layouts, backgrounds, and production cells from his early career through all 11 of his feature films, including My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, and more, offering insights into Miyazaki's creative process and masterful animation techniques. This book is a little different than the rest, being that it's an animation cell book of Volume 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, in that it contains all of the important animation, drawings, cells, and storyboards from Episode 1 to Episode 13. I mean thousands. Behold. Something extremely useful to a new animator like myself, especially one who wants to go into keeping a strictly 2D look for his stuff. Okay, we're on to the last two books, which are the last two books of my Smithsonian collection. My Smithsonian books are keys to helping me build my stories and art program, because to be able to create is to know what already exists. Picturepedia is great on its own for its vast and organized spreads of information and pictures alongside a great many subjects. but I am a storyteller of high fantasy and reasonable fictitious bullshit. Mostly. So, I got the big book of civilization, the thickest boy I own, summarizing all the important moments of humans' past history and the history of the earth, as if it were trying to outdo a history school book. And it succeeded in that regard. Outside my comics, manga, and actual books that are on my shelf, there's all the physical books that are going into crafting my skills as a creative. My sketchbooks, which you'll see in the due time, and weekly on Patreon. And the very last few books that I bought are dedicated to building my next few large projects. A couple of world building series Bibles books to help alongside my grandiose stories and books. A blank book for, how to draw a blank comic book full of pages and panels to draw my own one-shot in. And so that's all my art books, at least all my physical books. Next video will be about my digital collection. But what's your collection like? What art books do you have? What books do you see here that I should flip through more in the future? Leave it all in the comments below. Hakuna Matata. Good day.